Hello, my name is Carol Egner and I work for Living Water Ecosystems. In 2018, Living Water were awarded funding from Innovate UK to design a system that would significantly reduce the carbon emissions needed to remove ammonia from wastewater. This funding allowed Living Water to create a research and development team, complete with laboratories and 2 different pilot scale demonstration facilities in order to achieve this goal. At the Living Water offices in Carling Knowes in North Queensferry, we've installed a laboratory for the development and testing of prototypes, a scale-up biofilter pilot plant and a vertical ecological treatment system pilot plant. At Croftgarry, we have an integrated demonstration plant that includes scaled-up biofilters and 3 living water wetland cells, along with an on-site testing lab to support the demonstration plant. The lab at Carling Knowes is where we develop prototype biofilters and assess different substrates and propagate inoculants for treating a range of effluents. This lab has the capability of doing a full wastewater analysis on real-life samples as they are treated at bench scale and on the pilot plants outside. The pilot plant at Carling Knowes contains a double biofilter and a small-scale vertical ecological treatment system. Each of these systems can be used on their own or integrated into one continuous system. Outside at Carling Knowes, we have our scaled up biofilters. So what we can do is we can fill our tank here with effluent and we pump it up to the top of this biofilter here. So that is this demonstration is a cage, an IBC cage lined with biodegradable material and filled with different substrates and different inoculants. There's actually 2 stacked on top of each other. And then the material trickles through the filter and down back into the pump. And so once we know something works at the lab scale, we can bring it out here and we can test it on a much bigger scale and see how effective that works. We then have the option of passing through these biofilters, and then what we can do is we can move the white hose over to this tank, and that's the starting tank for our vertical ecological treatment system. So from here you can see there's a pump inside this tank, and that's pumping material up to the top of the vertical ecological treatment system, and then it will trickle back down and come back down through this pipe here, and we can keep recirculating it till it's clean. And there's also an overflow tank here. So we'll just go upstairs and see the rest of the vertical ecological treatment system. So here we can see that the effluent has come up from the bottom tank through the pump and is now being distributed over the top of the biofilter, and it will trickle through down through the biofilter, and this is just a single cage here, it's a smaller scale one, through this pipe where it gets distributed into this wetland. Now this vertical ecological treatment system has 4 wetland cells. You could have 3, 4, it depends on the treatment. But for this demonstration unit we have 4 because they're quite small compared to the system that we have at Croftgarry. So the effluent comes out from the bottom of that first wetland cell that we just saw. Then it comes into the top here, comes along, comes down, and then it comes out. It comes back out through this pipe and it goes down back into the tank, the starting tank that we saw in our video earlier. And this VET system was commissioned about 18 months ago, and since then we've had really good success at treating landfill leachate, distillery effluent and leachate from anaerobic digestion plants, and we're hoping that we can demonstrate that this system, when we combine biofilters with our ecological treatment wetlands, that there's no limit really to what different types of effluent we can treat here. The demonstration plant at Croftgarry consists of 1,000 litre sample tanks which feed into a 2 metre cubed biofilter and then through 3 wetland cells in series before being collected in a second 1,000 litre sample tank at the end. The facility allows for sampling at each stage of the process with full wastewater analysis capability in the on-site lab. And this allows for a very clear picture of treatment performance across the whole system. So samples added into these sample tanks here, and then they're pumped, and then they go up through this pipe and into a distribution network at the top of this biofilter, and then the sample filters down through the biofilters and it's collected in a line at the bottom, and then it passes from there through into this wetland cell, where again there's a distribution network of pipes along across the top, and the sample comes over and is over the top of the wetland cell and then percolates down through the bottom. So this is a small-scale version of a proprietary Living Water Ecosystems wetland cell, which is one component of our ecological treatment systems, or ETS. These pilot-scale wetlands contain a biodiverse mix of around 20 indigenous wetland species that have been selected for their specific treatment properties. Unlike most constructed wetlands, these cells are designed to be naturally aerobic, but the biodiverse nature of the planting scheme ensures a fully functioning ecosystem, with all the flora and fauna required to consume all byproducts and detritus of the treatment process and remain sludge-free. And the liquid level is controlled using a riser pipe, which we can see here. And this also lets us take samples after each wetland cell, so we can monitor the process and how well the treatment's going throughout the process. And this pilot plant has 3 wetlands in series, mimicking a commercial living water system. And samples can be taken anywhere in each cell and also at the end of each cell. And after the 3rd wetland, the effluent flows to collection tanks at the bottom, where we test it again, and if it's clean we can discharge it. We can use it to irrigate the polytunnel, or we discharge it to our ponds, or we can discharge it to drain. If the sample isn't clean, then we recirculate it back up to the top, and we can recycle it again until it's of a sufficient standard for discharge. We have a small scale laboratory on site. We're able to monitor the performance of the pilot plant. We have the capability here to analyse the effluent for all the common wastewater parameters, such as pH, conductivity, dissolved oxygen, suspended solids, dissolved solids, COD, ammonia, phosphate, and a range of heavy metals. And we also have a high-end microscope where we can study the microbiology across the system and look at the aquatic fungi, the bacteria, ciliates, all that kind of stuff. And that lets us make sure that we've got, a healthy ecosystem going on there, and it helps us identify which are the microbes that are best at treating different contaminants in the system.